Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself, or know your nation, know yourself. The two are interchangeable. Right. In fact, let me just quickly just make sure that my phone. Oh, I'm sure it'll be all right. I'm sure it'll be fine. Sorry if you hear the odd little beep there coming in. I don't want to kind of break off now that I've started. Right. So this is it. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, here we are, less than a day now before the elections are due to start. And you may have heard me mention actually on Hoagly, I said, well, this is probably one of the most important predictions, political predictions in terms of outcome and stuff like that, that I've probably made in my YouTube career thus far. So I've looked at a lot of things. I've looked at a lot of factors. I've made some notes here to keep me on track, and extra notes on the candidates. And what I've done is I've looked at a variety of things. I've not just looked at Trump and Kamala, I've also looked at their VPs as well, because this is very important. Because as you know, as you guys know, many of you watching, most of you are based in the States, but you're based all over the world, you know, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Asia, everywhere. But as we all know, with the US elections, they are based on a ticket, aren't they? A ticket. You know, so you have your main candidate and you have their running mate, who is their vice president, or their pick for vice president. And what I've done is I've looked at quite a complicated scoring system called Kuta matching, which many of you may not have heard of before, but this is something that is unique to Vedic astrology. And it is it's often a traditional technique used in India to find out marriage compatibility. Now, one of the things is this: you may have heard me mention before, or maybe other astrologers have said it, but particularly the Vedic astrologers is very much the case, which is whoever has the closest connection in terms of their natal chart, whoever has the closest connection to the chart of the nation that they wish to govern is normally the one that will win. Yeah. Now, this was one of the factors that was overlooked when it came to Trump versus Hillary. Yeah. Because of certain dynamics in his chart, etc., and the Dasha sequence that he was in, he was able to defeat Hillary, and also other planetary factors as well. So what I've done is I've got the charts of Kamala and Tim Walz, and of Trump and JD Vance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze all of them and how they compare with the USA chart. Now, the chart, as you guys that I use, is the Declaration of Independence chart. Yeah, so the 4th of July 1776 in Philadelphia. And the Vedic, the chart that a lot of the Vedic astrologers use is the 6:30 p.m. For some people, it's different, you know, because there is a bit of speculation about the time that document was signed. But the 6:30 p.m. one works extremely well, very, very well, and it's been proven it's a very good predictor of what is going on in the United States. Of course, things were ratified later, etc., but really that signing of that Declaration of Independence was truly the birth of America as a concept. And of course, July 4th has been celebrated, is celebrated every year. So it is part of the big psychic consciousness of what it means to be an American. And therefore, you know, it has a strong energetic connection with the chart. So before I get stuck in, just in terms of like context and stuff, everyone knows this, and this has been said, you know, by so many of the pundits and stuff. And it's often said that this election is the most important election, etc., ever. And in this case, this is not hyperbole. Yeah, it's not hyperbole, particularly when you look at it from an astrological perspective as well. And it really truly is. This is representing that fork in the road, yeah, where America is effectively going to decide in which direction it is going to go in. Whichever road is chosen is going to be of immense impact. Whoever wins, it will be of immense impact. It will change the fate and destiny of the United States of America. And the reason why is because, of course, of this Pluto return that you've heard me banging on about. And actually, many of us astrologers have been talking about it, but I've been particularly going on about it, haven't I? And I've been kind of saying that this Pluto return is happening in sidereal Capricorn. Now, if you're in Western tropical astrology, of course, they're 24 degrees ahead. It still works. It still has its way of working, of course. But when it comes to actually predicting concrete outcomes, I would say, Vedic astrology really does have an edge, because astrology is a science, and particularly Vedic astrology is an ancient science. It really, really is. And we're actually gonna go through and we're gonna look at some numbers. I'm gonna show you certain planetary configurations as well. The hits that each candidate has on the chart of the USA. And this is really important, because these are factors that will play out, because both the candidates and their vice president's charts are going to be active, and they all have connections with the USA chart, meaning that any one of them could actually be president, or basically from an astrological perspective, you can see why they are the presidential contenders and why their vice presidents are vice presidents. You may be pleasantly surprised as well to learn who has the strongest chart of all of the candidates. So watch this space. So let's see, what have I put here in my notes here? Right, so one of the things, so we're going to look at the role of Saturn. We're going to be talking about there are crucial planets here that are really deciding this election. Saturn is one. Yeah, now you've heard me mention Venus. Yeah, now in fact, let me start with Venus, because I said Venus will decide this election. And now bear in mind, I made this prediction months ago, and it may have seemed a bit abstract, isn't it, back then? But now I think, everyone's really getting it, because Venus is the planet of women. Yeah, it's the planet of women. It normally skews slightly younger, but in general, it's women. The moon is also a planet of women as well, but it tends to be more matriarchs and also grandmothers, or whoever is the primary nurturing figure. So it's women, but it's with a different energy. The moon is considered mature divine feminine. The sun is considered mature divine masculine. So, but with Venus, it talks about all women, and it can also represent secondary characteristics of the mother. This is something else that I've found as well. And the reason why this will decide this election is because look at the gender breakdown that's happened. Yeah, we've seen that the majority of women are wanting to support the Kamala Tim Walz ticket. And then we've seen how Donald Trump has garnered support, especially amongst men. And one thing that I want to add, I was watching a Diary of a CEO the other day. My friend Sarah forwarded me the link. It's a 2-hour show. I was only able to watch about an hour of it. I've been watching so much coverage, where the polls are, etc. Just getting back, just digesting it all, and then seeing how that overlays with the astrology. But one thing, so someone called Scott Galloway, interesting character. He often talks about issues going on with men and young men in particular, was on Diary of a CEO. Now, this was forwarded to me, and like I said, I've only seen about 45 minutes of it, but I saw enough because I've heard him speak before and stuff like that. But anyway, they were talking about what is the appeal of Trump slash Duck Larange to younger men. And he, the guy who is the Diary of the CEO, that is his podcast, he quoted the Wall Street Journal, and basically was saying, however, young men are moving away from the Democrats and they're going towards Republicans. So according to Wall Street Journal, shows some statistics that the Republican Party was gaining more young men in particular. So in 2016, they had 35% of the young men in their camp, which is already still quite a lot. But now, according from stats of 2023, so last year, it was 48%. So, and this is representing a 13-point increase in 7 years. We're now in 2024. I would strongly suspect that is higher. I think it would probably be in the low 50s or higher 50s now in this election cycle year. So we're not going to go into the depths of that because we want to focus more on the election. But I think it is something that is worth exploring, particularly if it were to go to Duck Larange as well, because I've got quite a lot that I'd like to contribute on that in terms of my observations, and in particular talking to men and their motivations and some of their reasons if they are going to vote Trump. And I did meet some of them on my adventures and my travels. And, ask them, what their motivation was. But I think this is something that's probably better for a post-election debate. So watch this space on that one. One thing I want to say before we get stuck in is that it's all about Pennsylvania. Might seem obvious to say it, but I've been, looking through all the stuff, but it is all about Pennsylvania, because if I recall correctly, Pennsylvania has 19 electoral votes, huge, and it's going to swing it for either candidate, either one. And I would say whoever wins Pennsylvania on the night before all of the results are in is most likely the first one that is going to cross the threshold of 270 votes. So I wanted to say that. And, and this is probably reason why the candidates have been in Pennsylvania so much, because it is so important. Also, as well, another factor, and remember, I think I was reading this on Thursday, Fry Up, and definitely on Hogarth Just Gone. Those comments made at Madison Square Garden about describing Puerto Rico as a floating pile of rubbish, yeah? In my opinion, we'll have to see how it plays out. But I think that could be decisive in terms of support for the Kamala Walz ticket. And in many ways, it's kind of remarkable, isn't it? It's kind of remarkable how where Duck Larange has taken politics now, where they felt they needed to say that. Yeah, it's just like they just can't help themselves. They can't help but insult someone. Someone has to be the butt of the joke. And it's so interesting, isn't it? In the literally, we've got, in the last days of the campaign, really, if you've got any shred of political nous or sense, you're trying to win undecided voters, because it's not just women, it's going to be undecided voters that basically swing this election. And what do you do at the last minute? You insult a huge factor in the American voting demographic. Yeah, there's, from what I understand, there's multiples of, I think it's well over 100,000, if not more. I can't remember. Did they say it was 150,000 people from Puerto Rico that live in Pennsylvania? And Pennsylvania is the most important. Well, they're all important. All of you guys are important, but winning Pennsylvania is literally going to decide the presidency for either candidate. And you go out and you insult a significant part of that populace in a race that is razor thin. My goodness. Do you know what I mean? One of the dumbest things, maybe in a way, thank goodness, because I think something like that, those comments would have, I think it would have stung quite a few Latinos into, and maybe just given a little bit of a pause for thought there. But again, I don't have any skin in the game. I'm not voting. All I can do is report on the energies. But I think it was significant, and in an election that is so close, that could also potentially have swung things in Kamala's direction. It does seem to be going more in her direction in these dying days of the campaign, the dying days. Trump hasn't exactly covered himself in glory. Let's put it that way. I mean, he's extremely good at getting headlines and all of this kind of stuff and everything like that. And when we look at his chart, you're going to see why that is. But all these slurs and all that kind of stuff, completely unnecessary. But there you are. That's the kind of campaign that he's running. All right, what else? Oh, and then we also have Alan Lichtman, as you guys will know. So he still predicts that Kamala will win based on his keys. Do you remember he's got this system? I think is it 9 keys? I think it's 9 keys or something like that. I forget the exact number, but you guys know who he is. And he said he's still going with Kamala, but he also confessed, this was his most recent appearance on CNN, he also confessed as well that he's been facing a lot of death threats, a lot of anger, a lot of aggression towards him, because this is really, we're in a dark place, politically in the United States, where the public respect and discord is almost completely, broken down. The fact that the Trump campaign were like, oh, well, if we call Kamala a CUNT, which was something that was programmed in, they're like, oh, well, maybe that's in poor taste. Like maybe. And then they make the comments about, the comedian makes the comments about Puerto Rico. And that was on the tannoy, and yet that wasn't considered in poor taste. But that's where the world is. Well, that's where American politics is right now. So we'll have to see how it goes. But I've got some positive news for you guys. But keep watching, and then you can see the logic of how this works out. Another thing as well, let me just make sure. All right, so I mentioned Scott Galloway, Younger Men, Pennsylvania, Alan Lichtman. Mars is also debilitated, by the way. So Mars went into debilitation around about the 20th of October, and it's going to be, and it goes into, its sign of debilitation is the sign of Cancer. But ironically, this might actually work out quite good for Kamala, who has a bit debilitated Mars, actually like myself, actually. So Kamala and I are both having our Mars return, which happens every couple of years. So the way I see that might help her out, but nonetheless, it does increase the propensity for the shadow side of Mars to come out. When a planet is in debilitation, it's not always behaving its best. So this can increase the likelihood of things like violence, arguments, discord, war, conflict, and the shadow aspect of Mars, shootings, etc., stuff like that. It is a volatile situation. Mars as well also deals with what? Young men in particular. Yeah, it represents siblings, but your brothers in particular. But it also has, it's also associated with a young male energy as well. So we could see, maybe some acting out. Let's just put it on that way. I'm not saying it's going to be a full, Jan 6th situation, but with Mars debilitated, it just increases the propensity that, misbehavior could happen. Although I do think it is good for Kamala. What else do I need to talk about? And he goes basically between Cancer and the previous sign, Gemini, pretty much, I think, until the middle of next year. Yeah, so this is extraordinary. So the sign of Cancer and the sign of Gemini are not the best signs for Mars. But again, if one takes a positive slant on these things, one can use the positive aspects as well. And I spoke about, so I need to talk about our Iowa. So there was a little bit of a surprise, wasn't there, where it turns out that Kamala is leading Iowa, or leading Trump in Iowa, pardon me, by around about 3 points. So I think the last time I checked, Harris was on 47, and I think Trump was on 44. I think that may have rattled the cage a little bit of the Trump campaign, because Iowa, or in particular the person who does those polls, there has been a bit of a bellwether reader on that. So that is a positive omen. Another one, now, I think Lena might find this reference a bit controversial, because I floated it on Hogarth just gone. But when Brexit happened, I think people realized that Trump could win. Wasn't that interesting? Yeah. Little England, little Britain over here. Who would have thought, could be some kind of bellwether for the United States? But if we follow the same logic, someone called Kemi Badenoch has just become the leader of the Conservative Party. Yeah. Now, the Conservatives were, I mean, utter douchebaggery from them. You've heard me talk about the Conservatives ad nauseum. But one thing I will say, it seems like Rishi Sunak has suddenly found a backbone and passion in opposition that he didn't have as leader. Yeah. I didn't vote for the Tories, but you know what I mean? I think if he'd performed in the way that he's performed in the last few weeks, now that the pressure's off, things may have been different. But anyway, I'll never. Yeah, it's hardly the likelihood of me ever voting Conservative is extremely slim. However, the point is, Kemi Badenoch has just become the first black woman in British politics to be the leader of a major political party. And that probably goes for Europe as well. So this is actually really quite a big deal. It really is quite a big deal. And I just find the timing very interesting. So is that an omen that Kamala Harris could become the first black female leader of the United States? We shall have to see. Bit of an unusual kind of reference, I'm sure you guys would agree, but I'll take an omen where I can find it. And finally, before I start as well, let's talk about President Obama's speech, which I thought was very powerful. And I think he had that, I saw it on YouTube, and it was on CNBC TV 18, whatever that means. And then one of the things that he said, and I think it was good, he said to people in the audience, don't boo. And he said, telling the truth is important, even if it's inconvenient. Yeah, I'm certainly someone that agrees with that mindset. And I have had a bit of stick over the years for telling inconvenient truths, which have ended up being what? True. Yeah. Anyway, but such is life. Anyway, let's begin. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go through the charts. We're going to look at Tim Walz's chart, we're going to look at JD Vance, then we're going to look at Trump, and then we're going to look at Kamala. We're also going to look at their Kuta scores, and in fact I've looked at them and I've already added them up, and again there might be you might see this as a pleasant surprise. So what I'm going to do is, let me just do hit presentation here and hit share screen. It won't be exhaustive. I'm just going to go through and make some main points. I think entire screen, we'll do that, share. And then let's get up. Let's see who we've got here. This is Trump's one. So his one's up already. What I'll do though, let me just do here. Let's do Tim Walz. So this is Tim Walz's charts. Now there is no accurate birth time for Tim Walz. Yeah, just so you know, let me just kind of reduce this down a little bit, because I like to be able to see myself when I'm making presentations. And then let's go down like this. And so here's Tim Walz, but he was born on the, it was 6th of April. Yeah, 6th of April. I've got here. I've got 6th of April, 1964. I had to put 12 midnight because I don't have his birth time. Midday. If it was actually midday, he would actually be a Cancer rising, which for me would actually be kind of very kind of like fitting, because he does strike me as a Cancerian, because of his warmth, particularly family and teaching and education. He's either a Cancerian or a Leo, because those are the signs, those are the ascendants predominantly that really actually go into teaching. I've seen it time and time again. People that are teachers, they're very often Leo or Cancer ascendant. Anyway, now what's interesting is he and Kamala are basically the same age. They're born a few months apart. He's born 6th of April. She was born 20th of October. Yeah. So they're born in the same birth year. They're only a few months apart, and both of them are having a Saturn return. Now, this is very significant. So if we look here where it says TR, this means transits. This is where the planets are right now. Yeah, and you'll see here is Saturn currently retrograde. Remember, review, revise, reassess, when a planet's retrograde, whatever it represents. Saturn is the planet of what? Government. Big business, infrastructure, all of that kind of stuff. Haven't we seen a huge amount of review, revise, reassess politically from when Saturn actually started going retrograde, which was at the end of June? I think it was like 29th of June. Yeah, a couple of days where he was already standing still, to be honest, but it was a couple of days after that fateful debate between Biden and Trump, which almost seems like light years ago now, doesn't it? But literally, yeah, the gears went into reverse, didn't they? Now, this is something where the two of them actually have an advantage, yeah, because they're both having their Saturn return at the same time. Saturn is the planet of pressure, duties, and responsibilities. And very often when a person has a Saturn return, particularly the second one, remember the first one happens around about 28, 29, 30. Yeah, this is when we all ask ourselves, oh, what am I doing with my life? Am I going to get married? Am I going to have kids? Will I buy a house? Am I going to buy a car? How am I going to become a grown-up? And you guys all remember from watching me, and I say this very often to my clients, when I was doing a meditation one day on Saturn and us having a communication, he said, childhood ends when I return. So for me, that means childhood officially ends on the first Saturn return. So when we're 28, 29, you speak to any 28, 29/30-year-old, they're almost always saying the same things. What am I doing with my life? Oh, it's time to grow up. I need to make decisions. Yeah, all of that stuff, because they feel it. On the third Saturn return, this is when we're kind of getting into, we're sort of like 88, 89, 90. We're like, take me. Yeah, I'm ready to leave planet Earth. Because of course this looks like the scythe, yeah, collecting the harvest. But what I found is this: the second Saturn return is the most important Saturn return that you will ever have in your whole life. This, for some people, it can be very difficult because it can deal with extreme pressure and transformation. Saturn is the planet of pressure after all. But not all Saturn returns are equal. It depends where he falls into the chart, if he's strong or not. And with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they both have Saturn in sidereal Aquarius here. Yeah. Not in Pisces, as it would be in Western Tropical, where he doesn't do as well. It's actually here in sidereal Aquarius, which is his sign of rulership, his sign of domicile. Yeah. He also rules the sign of Capricorn, of course, and Aquarius is also co-ruled by Uranus and Rahu. But the point is, Saturn is extremely comfortable here. It's his Mula Trachona sign, which means it's the sign of his office. Yeah. So he's more inclined to give a good result. So both Kamala and Tim Walz are going through their Saturn return. You know, Kamala's just turned 60. So Tim Walz, it means he's turned 60 recently as well. It would have started a bit earlier than this, but the point is that that's when it kicked in. So when Saturn entered the sign of sidereal Aquarius on around about, oh gosh, when was it? January 2023, 17th of January, I think it was. That's when officially both of them, their Saturn returns began. Now, of course, that energy is well underway because Saturn has moved over their Saturn placements and gone retrograde and will soon be going direct again on the 15th of November. Anyway, the point is that when we have our second Saturn return, we often have a huge increase in our responsibilities. This is very often the time in people's life when their parents, if they're still alive, are entering what I refer to as second childhood. Yeah. So if you're in your 60s, there's a good chance that your parents, if they had you in their 20s, are in their 80s. Yeah. Which is, you know, obviously a very different time of life. For some people, it could be even the case that their parents are in their 90s. This is also the time very often when people become grandparents themselves. Yeah. It tends to be around that time. Sometimes it can happen in the 50s or the later 60s. But on average, this is also the time when people in their 60s actually become grandparents, yeah, or great uncles and great aunts and stuff like that because of the cycle of life. And Saturn, along with the Sun, is also one of the chief indicators of the career. But remember, Saturn is what? Repeat after me. A sign of planet of government. Government. So Tim Walz and Kamala Harris are both having their Saturn return coming back to them in his own sign, and he represents the government. So again, that's really quite a powerful omen, which I'm not sure how many astrologers have spoken about that, but anyway, it doesn't matter. The whole point is this, is that is a powerful indicator that there's more than likely they've got Saturn on their side. Yeah. Now for Duck Larange, Saturn is falling into his 7th house because he's a Leo rising. And the 7th house is also known as a death inflicting house. Yeah. Look what's been happening to him recently. Yeah. Not wishing the worst, but just look at what's happened. Yeah. In the last few months alone, it's just been incredible what has been happening. So they both have this, which is very favorable. If we look here, Tim Watts has got the Sun and Mars in the sign of Pisces, so he's got them both in friendly signs. Whenever I see Mars in the sign of Pisces, I refer to it as this spiritual warrior. Yeah, so this is compassion in action. Here you've got the Sun here in sidereal Pisces, not in Aries as he would be in Western tropical sidereal Pisces. Of course he's a sidereal Pisces because Pisces is all about what? Gentleness and empathy. Yeah, he's shown incredible empathy and emotional intelligence. Yeah, he likes to nurture things and help people grow. Yeah. He genuinely wants to heal America, but he's also got a lot of passion there as well. Mars is also sports. Let's not forget that. It's not only just war, he's also logic, working things out. Passion, sports. Tim Watts used to be a coach and a successful coach. Mars is here with the Sun. Sun and Mars are friends, and both of them are in friendly signs. If we look here as well, his Jupiter is very strong. He has got his Jupiter here in Aries. Now let's not forget the planetary friendships. Yeah, so Sun, Moon, Jupiter, and Mars are all friends, and they all do well in each other's signs, except Mars technically debilitates in the sign of Cancer, but is yet delighted. Then Saturn, who I call Balloon Popper, Mercury, and Venus, they're all friends. They're the planets of business and commerce. They all do well in each other's signs, except Venus technically debilitates in the sign of Virgo, Yet she is delighted as well, but not quite as delighted as Mars. So whenever you see planets in either their own signs or the signs of their friends, they are very powerful. They become very strong. So we see here as well that, again, look, so there's a sports reference here as well, because Jupiter is in the sign of Aries, which belongs what? To Mars. And in fact, actually, oh my goodness, I should have noticed this before. Here, we've got a powerful Paravartana yoga going on here. Yeah, it's a Paravartana yoga. Let me just, yeah. And this basically means that they're swapping. Yeah, so his Jupiter is acting like it's in Pisces and his Mars is acting like it's in Aries. What it means is these two planets have a very strong connection with each other and are reinforcing. So again, here you can now, the Jupiter is the sign of guru, teacher. Yeah, so he's a teacher and a coach. But let's not also forget as well, he also served in, what is it, the Territorial Army or something like that. But he did that kind of army service for 20 years. And I remember JD Vance was trying to pick him on that, saying, oh, you didn't get injured or whatever. It doesn't matter. He was in a martial capacity for what? 20 years. Yeah. So here we can see this planetary exchange that's going on here, which is boosting all of these planets. Even though Mercury and Jupiter aren't friends, this Mercury is boosted. It also shows his intelligence as well. This is always a big hallmark of wit and intelligence and being able to think on one's feet. And he's quite good at cracking the jokes, isn't he? Anyways, so I don't want this to be a complete breakdown of Tim Waltz's chart. Let's look at the Kuta matching, and then I'll move on to JD Vance, because I want to make sure that I want to try and keep this show, I want to try and keep this show relatively to an hour if I can. Anyway, so in here we're going to do compatibility. So I'm going to compare Tim Walz to the chart of America as if they were in a romantic relationship. Yeah. Now, why am I doing that? You might think, oh God, Ergie, that's a bit of an eccentric thing to do. You can't marry a nation. But listen, when you're trying to become the leader of the nation or the vice president, your relationship with your own country, of course, matters a great deal. This is multi-purpose. Yeah. So with a little bit of imagination, yeah, because it is kind of like a wedding or a vow to your nation when you become its leader. The charts blend. This is why whoever is the leader of a nation or has influence can have such a big effect. This is one of the reasons why Dr. Ron just had such a big effect on America, because he used to be the leader. Yeah, and he's contending again. All right, so I use the Declaration of Independence chart, pardon me, for reasons that I explained before. Now, this is the important thing to understand. So if we look here, Tim Walz is in blue on the outside, yeah, in blue. The USA Declaration of I'll call it Constitution here, that's a typo. Declaration of Independence chart, yeah, is in green. Now, what we're looking for is planetary connections, but conjunctions, in particularly tight conjunctions. So in Vedic astrology, any planets that are in the same sign are considered conjunct. Yeah, but the closer they are, the better. Yeah. Now, so if we look here, and I've already made notes on Tim Waltz's chart. So, so first of all, he is in his Saturn dasher. So it means Saturn is having a disproportionate influence on Tim Waltz's life and chart right now, which is also very interesting as well, because he's also is in his Saturn return as well. So we see the influence of Saturn. Saturn is the planet of government, showing there's a strong planetary influence here, which is kind of pushing Tim Walz towards government. But if we look here, a lot of put here, second Saturn return, like Kamala, I mentioned that. Saturn, both Saturn and Aquarius, yeah, I mentioned that. Oh, and Aquarius, of course, let's not forget, is also the sign of the people. Think about their campaigns, what they've been talking about. Ordinary people, bringing everyone together in a community. Aquarius is the sign of community. So let's see here. He's got a very high Kuta matching score here for the sun, and I'm going to focus on the sun in particular when I compare the scores, because the sun is also the planet of CEOs, leaders, yeah, high office. So what have I put here? So one of the things to understand is, now if we look here, here's Tim Walz's Rahu, yeah. Now Rahu is the manifest point of destiny, the direction in life that we're going. Now when it comes to a leader's chart or a potential leader's chart or a person of influence, you want to see their Rahu connecting with either a planet or multiple planets, because it shows they have a destiny with the chart of the nation. Now the house or the sign, as it were, that has the most planets in it in the USA Declaration of Independence chart, pardon me, is the sign of Gemini, and it's in the 7th house in the USA chart. So if we look here, here's the constellation of Gemini, and we see here for the US Declaration of Independence chart, the Sun, Jupiter, Venus, and Mars are here. Yeah, Mars are here. Or is Mars actually, is Mars? Ooh, yes. Yeah, Mars is that very, very early Gemini. Anyway, the point is this. Tim Walz's Rahu is basically exactly on the Venus of the USA chart. And what did I put here? What did I put here? Tim's chart. Yeah. So, and right on the Venus of the USA chart, showing his support of Kamala and women in general. Now, what we need to remember is Kamala is what? A Libra ascendant in Vedic astrology. Libra, which means she's Venusian. Yeah. So we see here the relationship, how that works between the two. So, and I thought I made more notes than that, but I didn't. But anyway, but the point is this. His Rahu is exactly on Venus. Rahu and Venus are considered friends. But it's not just that. It means that his Rahu touches all of these planets here in the USA Declaration of Independence chart, because they're all in the same sign. So his touches here. But if you look here as well, his Mercury is no, actually, no, we can't. Here, this is talking about his ascendant being on the Mercury, but remember, we don't know the birth time, so I have to discount that. I can't actually count that. But if he was a Cancer ascendant, it would be even more perfect. Yeah. If we look here, though, his Venus is with Uranus. So I was saying that basically, what did I put with those extra notes then? Let me just see here. Oh, here we are. Oh, I did. How did I read off that? Anyway, never mind. So Tim Walz's. So I was saying, yes, his Rahu is exactly on Venus. So basically that's helping Kamala. Now, if we look here, his Saturn over here is conjunct pretty much exactly the USA moon. And what I put here, he knows how to speak about hard work, yeah, and understands bread and butter issues of ordinary people grafting, yeah, and he represents those people. So that's always what you want to see as well. The moon represents the mind overall, but also represents the public, but is also intuition and empathy. So we can see here quite clearly that Tim Walz really does understand effort and hard work. Saturn is also a planet of agriculture, and from what I understand, he grew up on a farm. Yes, so that farming background, really helps. If we look here, we'll see Tim Walz's moon is actually with Ketu and Pluto in the USA's chart. And what have I put here? Ketu conjunct, let's see. Moon conjunct USA's, his moon is conjunct USA's Ketu and Pluto. So deep intuition into America's needs. And then I've put here his Venus is close to USA's Uranus. This will facilitate a dynamic, pioneering female. Yeah. So again, this can really, it can show that he really does want to help Kamala out, but in this radical way. Yeah. Help it, because Uranus is about the planet of breaking the mold. Yeah. And what else did I want to say here? Moon conjunct USA's K2, Saturn conjunct Rahu. Yeah. So in terms of strong planetary conjunctions, he's got 5. Yeah, 5 powerful ones. I have to discount that one, the Lagna, like I said, the rising sign, because I'm not sure. But if we see here, really strong with Venus, really strong here with Saturn, strong here with the moon and K2 and Pluto. His K2 is also very, very close to the ascendant of the USA charts. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, kind of quite strong connections there. But when I look at the planet that the planets that he touches, his chart touches. If we look here, well, we have to discount these two. If he was a Cancer ascendant, it would be even more, but I don't know his birth time. But his chart touches 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What did I put here? I put that he got more than that. What did I put here? I put here 10 out of 12. Where did I get that from? Maybe I counted these two without realizing. Let me just count up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I make that 9 out of 10. If his ascendant was Cancer, it would be 11. But anyway, that is like no, it's actually 9 out of 12 of the planets that are counted. That is very, very high. So believe it or not, Tim Walz actually has the chart that is actually the most powerfully connected with the USA, which will help Kamala. Right, let's look at JD Vance and try not to boo in here, so make sure I've not missed anything there. I think I've said what I needed to say about that. Let's look at JD Vance. So if we go here, JD Vance, and then we do screen here. Now his chart is quite similar to Trump. Surprise, surprise. Both of them are Leos. Both of them have got Venus in the 12th house. Let's do compatibility. We go back in again here, and then we just do this. Right, now if we look here, so with JD Vance now, what have I put here? So he's got 4 strong planetary placements. Yeah, 4. And how many planets? And he touches around about 4 out of 12, but he does get an ascendant touch as well. So if we look here, what did I put in my notes? And I put here no, that he's got the sun exactly on Rahu of the USA's chart. So if we look here, this is JD Vance on the outer ring. Look at the Rahu of the USA chart. So he's got the sun exactly there. Yeah. So now this actually is quite a little bit of a malefic combination in the USA's chart, because Rahu with Mercury can also can talk about liars, because Rahu is inclined to lie, and Mercury takes on the character whoever he's with. And this sits in the 8th house of the USA chart, which also deals with scandals and intrigues, machinations and stuff. This is why we're seeing so much disinformation be part of the election cycles and, you know, the media and all of this kind of stuff. But anyway, you'll see here, here's his chart at his sun at 16 degrees 40 minutes, and the Rahu of the USA chart is at 15 degrees 51 minutes. Yeah, so they're within a degree of each other. You can see how close they are literally here. So what have I written here? I've put here sun is pretty much exactly on the Rahu of the USA's chart, which is also conjunct Mercury in the 8th house, showing his willingness to lie and tell dark stories in order to become leader. Yeah, the sun is leadership. Wherever the sun is, this is also how we're showing up in the world, how we want to show up in a leadership capacity. So he does have, it's a valid connection. You can see it for yourself, but we can also see how he's expressed itself. Yeah, he's not gone for the higher energy. He's admitted to making up stories, particularly about the Haitians eating pets and stuff like that. He's already demonstrated the energies that he's using. He's using the darker side. Yeah. We look here, his Rahu, I put here, his Rahu is quite close to the USA's Uranus. So you see here, here's his Rahu and Uranus. And what have I put here? I put here, willing to use cheat style and radical methods as election tactics. So again, because remember, Rahu, the shadow of Rahu, can deal with liars and charlatans. And here it's quite close to Uranus, which is the planet of sudden shocks and surprises and being unconventional and weird. Now, isn't it interesting? That was also something that the Harris campaign picked up on, yeah? JD Vance's weirdness, because he is weird. Yeah, there you can actually see that. And I think that's why that cut through so much. Yeah, that's why that cut through so much. But nonetheless, it's still a connection. Let's see here. So I've done that, and I put here his moon is very close to the USA's Saturn. So he's got the combination as well. Let's see here. Where's that? Here we are. Yeah, look at that. Very, very close. That's pretty much exactly on there as well. So he too, like Tim Walz, also understands the struggles and the workings of the average man and woman. Yeah. One of his books that he wrote, what was it called? Hillbilly Eulogy. Some people have, poo-pooed it a bit or what have you. But the point is, he was talking about the working class poor in America. Yeah, wasn't it Pennsylvania or something like that? So here, though, we can see how he has that same connection as Tim Walz does. So do you see how sometimes the strengths actually repeat? There's that. And then he's actually got a powerful connection here. He's got Jupiter very, very close to the ascendant of the United States charts, but Neptune is also present. And Jupiter-Neptune combination is also something Trump has as well. So I put here Jupiter almost exactly on USA's ascendant plus Trump plus Neptune nearby. He uses his intelligence to bring out the shadow side of Neptune, which is confusion, scandals, gaslighting, and deception. Yeah, to get what he wants. Also, I put here Trump, watch out. Vance is not your friend, nor America's. Yeah. Because this combination here, it can show how, now Jupiter is the planet of intelligence, knowledge, wisdom, expansion. This can show how someone can actually create quite a deceptive philosophy. Is the planet of philosophy. If this was in the positive, this could make someone a priest. Yeah. Or very spiritual, very religious. I suspect, Hoagie, he's connected with what? Opus Dei. And he wrote the foreword to Project 2025, which is supported by that whole thing. And one of the things I've been wanting to say is that this is why I say Duck Larange cannot trust JD Vance, because if Duck Larange were ever to get into power, God forbid, but let me tell you this, he'll be found at the bottom of the stairs. He will be found at the bottom of the stairs, because one of the things I've been saying, and particularly in private conversations with friends, but this combination has just jogged my memory, he is the high priest of Project 2025. Really, they want him as the anointed leader. And just seeing this combination here has actually reminded me of that, and we can see that in his chart. So this is no joke. Yeah, anyway, what else? So I've spoken about that. Sun, conjunct, yeah. Here we are. But his Kuta score, though, is significantly lower than Tim Walz's. Yeah, he only gets 15.5 rather than the 25 that Tim Walz has got. but he does get 25 for the moon. So this is a more secondary thing. Tim Walz is also, JD Vance is also in the early part of his Saturn dasher. So that tells me it might be a little bit too difficult for him to kind of get in. Well, right now, I think the only way that he could do it would be if Duck Larange got in and then something happened to Duck Larange, then he could get in that way, yeah, because of this deceptive thingy bob here. But he's a big danger. You do not want Tim Walz anywhere near the levers of power. Oh my God, not with these combinations. So we've got that there, but his scores, you see, his scores aren't quite as high. So he's not boosting Trump as much. And hasn't that been the case? Yeah, he's been a bit of a liability. Right, let's look at Duck Larange. Let's see here, Donald Trump. Let's look at Duck Larange and do the same comparison and see what we get. Now, when you see this, the reason why he is still even in the race starts to make a lot of sense. Yeah, starts to make a lot of sense. So if we do here, open, we go back into USA Declaration of Independence. Right, here we are. Now, Duck Larange, you know, it must be said, he does have a very powerful chart. You know, at the end of the day, I'm here for truth sharing. And it's not about my personal preferences here, particularly with the astrology. I have to say what I see. And it's very, very clear that Trump, why Trump became president of the United States, even though it seemed outlandish at the time. I always said that he would get in. I said Brexit would happen. I said he would, Trump will become president. People looked at me like I was an absolute fool. You know, they quickly shut their mouths afterwards, though, when I was proved right. But anyway, the point is this. He does have 5 close connections, but they're very close ones. Yeah. And his chart touches a lot of the planets. But let's start here. So here's Jupiter, I put here, is exactly on the USA's Saturn. So I put here, despite, so if we look here, what's it? Trump is on the outside in blue. Look at this. Do you see how his Jupiter is exactly on the Saturn of the United States chart? They're at the same degree. They're at the same degree. Look, it looks like one line, doesn't it? So what I put here is, despite his wealth and privilege, he's been able to convince ordinary people he's for them via his sermons and preaching at his rallies. Because remember, Jupiter is what? The Sanskrit name for Jupiter is Guru. So Guru likes to teach. And if you think of it, Trump is always teaching. Now, this isn't a value judgment of good or bad here. Look what he's been teaching his followers. Yeah. But look what he's teaching other Americans that don't follow him and the world. Yeah. That the influence there, because Saturn also represents the struggle of ordinary people. And I think this is why he, as a man of privilege and a billionaire, has been able to actually convince so many people that he's one of them. But one of the big reasons for that as well is this Jupiter-Neptune combination, which JD Vance also has. Now, in Trump's chart, this is happening in his second house, which deals with speech, values, money, wealth. So he's been able to what? I said he's the guy that can brainwash in broad daylight. His speech is very convincing. People may not agree with it. I certainly don't. The vast majority of people don't. But it doesn't matter. It's very effective. He has found a very, very good way to speak in a way to ordinary people that ordinary people understand. Yeah? We all understand what he's saying, There's no mystery with Duck Larange. But the point is, it's got the Neptune factor here, just like with JD Vance. But this also means his Neptune is with Neptune when he was born in the USA Declaration of Independence chart. Yeah, so he has this powerful, because what have I put here? Yeah, preaching at his rallies. Neptune is also conjunct, showing his incredible power to spin alternate realities that some people struggle to see through. Yeah, because Neptune can deal with the great illusions and delusions. He's an amazing planet, though. He can also deal with beauty, luxury, the arts, you know, travel, adventure, because he's the co-ruler of Pisces. But the shadow of Neptune is what? Alcoholism, derangement, delusion, you know, gaslighting, all of which we know Duck L'Orange is fluent in, but nonetheless, it's very powerful. So isn't this starting to make sense of like, everyone's like, why is this close? This is why. Yeah. Now his ascendant and his Mars don't connect with anything in the USA chart. But if we look here, look at this. His Saturn and Venus are very close together, and they are slap bang on the Mercury in the USA chart. So what have I put here? In fact, and here his Pluto is almost exactly conjunct the Rahu as well. So I put here Pluto exactly on Ra in the USA's Rahu. He made many Americans feel like dictatorship is part of America's destiny, extremely dark and powerful. So if you think about it, Pluto deals with what? Dictatorships, authoritarianism, all of these things that we know that Duck L'Orange loves. But Rahu, remember, is the manifest point of destiny in anyone's chart. So it's right on the USA's manifest point of destiny. And it's there with Mercury, which is what? Media, speech, communications, truth social, Twitter, all of that. Look at the impact. We can all see the impact that he's made on social media and all of this stuff, because this is quite a dark combination. And I think this is why he's very good at spouting out this dark fantasy that is almost intoxicating for people. They can't seem to pull themselves away from it. Yeah, I think it's backfiring on him a bit now, because it's obviously it's too much. And you know, but there you are. I wanted to show you that connection so you can see. So these are, you know, pretty much exact. If we look here, he, like Tim Walz and Kamala, and I'll be doing her next, he also has a planetary configuration in the constellation of Gemini. In Western tropical, Trump's Mercury would fall into the sign of Cancer, but it's actually in Gemini, its own sign. And again, this is boosting, you know, the communication abilities and all of that stuff. We may not agree with the crude style, but it's been what? Very effective. He's completely changed the political weather. And if you look here, so his Mercury is exactly on the Jupiter of the USA's chart. So how have I interpreted that? I put here, I've done the Pluto. So I put here Mercury exactly conjunct the Jupiter in the USA's chart, as well as the other planets in Gemini. The Mercury connection and the planet of business. Let's not forget that Mercury is a planet of business. He's convinced so many Americans that he's a good, effective businessman. He's managed to turn his rhetoric into a quasi-religion, yeah, because Jupiter represents what? Religion, spirituality. His Mercury is exactly on top of it. So he's a cult leader, yeah, as most rational people can accept, isn't it? And you see how this starts to make sense. And then his, what is that? His Venus over here is almost exactly on the USA's Mercury. So I put here, Venus almost exactly on USA's Mercury. He also has the ability to charm and entertain many Americans. And this combo will have helped him on The Apprentice. Yeah. So remember, Saturn, Mercury, and Venus are planets of business. He's a reality TV star. He's an entertainer. I always say Duck L'Orange is an entertainer. He's also a Leo rising. And this has actually got a lot of people onto his side. Yeah, whether we agree with his policies or not, the humor side and the outlandish side and the wacky side has entertained many people. And they've gone along with the circus and the show because they want to see what happens next. Yeah, so there's that element there. And then the sun almost exactly on the USA's Mars. Now, if we look here, His sun here is just in the previous sign. He's if he was born a day later, he would have been his sun sign would have been Gemini, as they say it is in the West. But actually, his sun sign is actually Taurus, but the last day of Taurus. But you can see, even though it's just technically out of sign, the Mars in the USA chart is less than 1 degree. So half of his body is actually in the sign of Taurus. And you can see here, look, it almost exactly on top. Now, Kamala has a very powerful connection with the USA's Mars, but Trump's Trump's sun is here. And this is often maybe something that may be a little bit overlooked. Yeah, because technically they're out of sign, but you can actually see they're really, really close. So what have I written here? I've put here, sun almost exactly on USA Mars. He invokes violence in order to try and become the king. Remember, the sun is the leaders. But the Taurus aspect also involves selling products and merchandise. Yeah, because Taurus is also what? Objects of value, goods and services, items. Many interpret his violent rhetoric as leadership and strength. Yeah. And his Kuta score is 25. Yeah. So very high. But Tim Walz is at 25 as well. So what I counted here is that Trump's close conjunctions are 5. Yeah, and I put here, but he's got 8 out of 12 planets influencing. So if we just look again, so look here, we got 1. So that we're counting influence. Yeah, planets that are touching are in the same size. So if we see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, that's 9, because the Rahu is in Taurus. 9. That was a miscount. He's actually got 9 out of 12. 9. So very, very, very powerful. And Tim Walz had 9 as well. Right. So we see here the Tim Walz energetically is really boosting Kamala's ticket. Yeah. So she picked the right guy. Let's put it that way. But now you guys can see this is part. Like, you know, when you said I can shoot someone in Madison Avenue and no one's going to bat an eyelid and stuff like that. This is part of the reason why I would say, because his chart is so sticky with the USA's chart. This is why he's hard to beat. Yeah. Now, let's look at Kamala's chart. Let's look at Kamala's chart, and then we're going to add the Kuta scores together to see which ticket has the highest score. Right. So let's do, here we are. Where's Kamala? Kamala Harris. There we go. See how I'm doing on time. Oh, God, I'm over already. Sorry. I'm already over. Let's now do the same thing here. Compatibility. Country, here we are. So here's Kamala's comparison here. Now, what I had with her is that I have her as having 3 close planetary conjunctions, but she has 2 ascendants. So her ascendant is conjunct the USA chart, and then I think her K2, yes, is conjunct the ascendant of the USA. So there's a strong aspect here of fate and destiny. So if we look here, so what have I put here? So I put here Kamala's ascendant and Rahu conjunct exactly the USA's Mars. So if we look here where it says LG, that means Lagna. So Kamala is in blue. Lagna, here is her Rahu. So she has Rahu, the manifest point of destiny, right on her ascendant, which means her life is extremely fated. And that is pretty much exactly on the USA's Mars. Yeah. And what I put here, conjunct exactly USA's Mars. She's made being a female fighter / warrior part of her destiny. Yeah. And she talks a lot about what? Fighting for people. Yeah. Which she's done. You know, she really has, particularly young kids that are being abused and stuff like that, and breaking up cartels. So she does have a very powerful connection here as well. And it also means she's touching these planets over here. Yeah, because they're technically conjunct because they're in the same sign. If we look here, her Jupiter, did I count this one? Yeah, her Jupiter. Yeah, her Jupiter is a bit of a more of a wide orb here, but what did I put? So I did that here. She's got Saturn Moon combination as well. So if we look here, where is it? What I put here? Saturn, USA's moon. Where's her? Here we are. Here we are. So this is her Saturn in Aquarius, just like with Tim Walz. And you see here, look, closely conjunct the moon. So I've put here as well. Again, she understands the struggle of ordinary people. So we see here in 3 of the people on the ticket, 3 of them have moon conjunct a moon Saturn combination. Yeah, moon Saturn combination. And Trump has got a Saturn. His Saturn is in the sign of, yeah, he's got like a Saturn with the Mercury and all that stuff, because his Saturn and his Pluto are in the sign of Cancer. But anyway, but isn't it interesting that 3 out of 4 of the candidates have a Saturn moon combination? Yeah, so again, governance and the people. The moon represents the people. I've also put here K2 is conjunct the USA's ascendant. So you see her K2, that's the USA's ascendant. And I put here a deep connection with America and its ideals and concepts. Yeah, because the ascendant is the representative of that thing or person. So the ascendant for the USA is representing all of the USA. And what does she continue to talk about? Bringing people together. Yeah, bringing people together. So we can see there's that deep connection that she has there. Oh, actually, look, if we see here, her Mars is quite close to the Rahu Mercury combination. Did I put that here? She's actually got a bit more, actually. I think it's more like 4. Mars in the same sign. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, but that's the ascendant, but planetary combination. So Mars in the same sign as USA's Rahu and Mercury. So I put here, the more Americans understand that she's fighting for them and their families, which is the sign of Cancer. Yep, sign of Cancer here. And their families, the better. However, misinformation. So remember, this Rahu Mercury is quite a malefic combination. It's happening in the 8th house of the USA's chart. So there's been a tremendous amount of meddling, secret influence, hidden influence, and misinformation. So I put here, misinformation is also her obstacle. Her debilitated Mars is a secret asset, though. Others may not see her as tough enough, yeah, because the Mars is debilitated, which is ironic because those with a debilitated Mars can become extremely resourceful and master strategists. Because what is, when Mars is debilitated, it's actually more like guerrilla warfare. And believe it or not, a debilitated Mars is actually good for the individual. Not so great for the siblings, but it is good for the individual. So people shouldn't underestimate Kamala. Well, in fact, many people have underestimated Kamala, haven't they? But now that she's been given the spotlight, she's blossomed and performed, yeah, which shows that many people were not seeing that Martian aspect of her. She's actually very Martian, actually. I recognize a lot of that Mars energy in Kamala. She really does have it there. But you can see here, she does have it in the same sign as the USA chart, but it also means that she's been vulnerable as well to besmirchment and all of this kind of stuff. Her Kuta score is 21, yeah, 21, which again is still very good. Anything that's above 17 is considered good. So she's got 21. However, for the moon, it's only 13.5. So I think this is also part of the reason why the public are saying they still don't know Kamala yet, even though she's explained herself umpteen times. It's not quite going into the collective consciousness yet. It's just going to take her longer to get there. What, you know, she becomes president, of course, that will change. But I think this is why they're still saying, what does Kamala stand for? When it's pretty clear, but we're dealing with collective energy here. So I put here 3 close placements, but I think it's actually more. I think, you know, I think it's fair to say it's actually 4. But in terms of strictly planets, it's 3 that are very conjunct. But the ones that she's also having influence on and touching, I've put here 8. So let me see if I'm correct. So the Mars touching here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, it's 8. 8 out of 12 planets. And then her K2 conjuncts the rising sign of the USA chart. So you could call that 9 factors. But let's say 8 out of 12, very good. Yeah, that's still very good. So if we put that together, so Trump has 9 out of 12. Walz has 9 out of 12. Kamala's got 8 out of 12, but you could almost call her a 9 as well because of this. Her K2 is conjunct the rising sign of the United States charts. So overall, I would say the weakest one is JD Vance, and I think we can all agree on that. And he's not going to be good for America. So we see out of the people that are the contenders how powerful their charts are. You see how this astrology works. Now to round up, let's do the final scores. So with Trump and JD Vance, now remember JD Vance had 15.5, Trump had 25, so that brings them in at 40.5 points, yeah, when you combine them together. When you look at the for the sun, yeah, leadership, when you look at Kamala and Walz, they get 46 points because 21 plus 25 is of course 46. So if I just do the stop sharing there, so based on that, oh crikey, this is probably going to have to be an hour-and-a-half show, but how could it be a short show with all this work here? So looking at that, based on the Kuta scores, Kamala and the Tim Walz ticket do come in with the higher score. So if I'm looking at it from that perspective, because their energies are combined, then technically they should defeat Trump and JD Vance. However, Uranus, let's not forget, Uranus is on the star Algol, yeah, and he's there now, and he's going to be there for a week or so. Now remember, Algol deals with what? Betrayal, usurping, assassination attempts, and all that stuff, which we have seen has happened with Duck Larange. And we also saw what happened with Joe Biden. So, as I said before, but everyone's reported in the media, Trump is going to try and steal it. Yeah, he's going to try and steal it. So what I'm going to say is I think Kamala will edge it, but it's not guaranteed. Like some of the exit polls are looking a little bit wibbly wobbly. And I've been watching some of the channels that have been talking about that. But I think with independence, and particularly what was said at Madison Square Garden, which was dreadful timing, that could be enough to swing it. But in terms of the astrological scores, the Kamala Walz ticket is the strongest in terms of connection with the USA chart when you look at their points. And this is why I also hope as well, when I was talking about what's his face, the guy who does the poll predictions, what's he called again? Alan Lickman. Let's hope Alan Lickman's prediction also comes true. But from the astrology, I can say they do get the most points. So that makes me feel a bit more positive, but it's not guaranteed. Remember, Trump's chart is still incredibly powerful, and he's powering a lot of this stuff just on his own chart alone. What I forgot to say is, well, he's still in his Jupiter dasher, and he's actually currently got Jupiter going through his 10th house with Uranus, and Venus will be right on his moon at the moment as well. So it could be, for example, he may just lose out to Kamala, but then he's going to do something radical to try and basically steal it. Yeah, he may even try and use violence or force. Yeah, because he is sweating a little bit. But so there's that. Let's just pull some cards. But based on those Kuta scores and going through those exhaustive elements, there's still more I could talk about, but then this would end up being a 2-hour video. No one wants to watch a 2-hour video. Let's just pull some cards for Duck L'Orange and then Kamala Harris. See what's going on with Duck L'Orange. His main fault, as it were, I don't think he made the choice. It was JD Vance. If he loses, it's because of him. Weaker chart. Let's see, Duck L'Orange. I don't think he wanted Vance anyway. But Vance certainly wants his position. So if Trump were to win, he'll be found at the bottom of the stairs. Mark my words. Oh, he had a stroke. He fell. Oops. Now Vance has to be president. Oh my God, God forbid. Let that never be the case. But let's see what's going on with Duck L'Orange. Ah, of course. Interesting. So here we are. Up, straight out the. Oh, just went a bit funny. Did you see that? Oh, yeah. So he's going to try and what? Spread disinformation and lies. Oh, it's been stolen. It's been stolen. He's doing that already. Yeah. Do you see? Do you see how the cards are responding? Yeah. What's his obstacle card? The truth. Yeah, the sword of truth. So he's going to have to face the reality of the things that he's said and done, particularly, of course, assuming Tim Watz and Kamala win. They do have that higher score as they combined ticket. Yeah. So the truth is coming out in his obstacle position. Yeah. A truth he doesn't want to face. Yeah. He's obviously going to keep blabbering on about, you know, the family and all of this kind of stuff. But remember, this always comes out for the GOP, and it's often the false family, the false ideals. But look, he gets heartache here, heartache. Yeah, so there's a disappointment. Yeah, disappointment potentially for Duck L'Orange. So, you know, because of his running mate, basically that score's not quite high enough. Thank God. We still need to see how it goes out. But let's not get complacent. Yeah, let's not get complacent. Duck L'Orange could still get in there. Like I said, don't underestimate. If we look here, though, his outcome card is the Ace of Cups. So this is quite complicated. So we need to actually look at this together. What he's going to do, if he loses, he's going to go on grievance. Yeah. He's going to try and rattle up everyone's emotions by saying that it was stolen, but really it's probably his own hurt feelings, yeah, that he's trying to cover up. So I'm gonna take it from that perspective. If all of his cards were super positive, then that would be a bit different. But that Three of Swords and the Ace of Swords in the obstacle position, particularly next to the card of delusion, yeah, he's not going to accept the result. That is virtually guaranteed, unless, of course, he's declared the winner. Right, let's look at Kamala. Let's look at Kamala. What's in store for her? So close, guys. Make sure that you get out there and vote, 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 vote. This really will decide America's future. And it's not going to be over on election day as well. There's going to be all sorts of, you've seen in the charts, Duck L'Orange is going to try all sorts of things to pull it his way. He'll try and get it taken up to the Supreme Court, who are obviously going to go in his favor. So let's hope it doesn't go in that direction. Let's see here. Kamala. How are things going for her? What's the energy around Kamala? What's the energy around Kamala? Oh. Well. Very interesting cards. All right, here we are. We have got here the Knight of Pentacles. So this has been hard, steady going. Yeah, it's been hard going. This isn't a quick card. So what this tells me is it could take us a while to know the result. Yeah, there could be multiple recounts. There could be legal challenges even and stuff like that. But this is also a card of perseverance and determination. Slow and steady wins the race. Yeah. But it's not a quick card. I'll be amazed if the result is known super quickly. I hope I'm wrong on that, because there could be so many shenanigans. Remember this Uranus on Algol. But if we look in her obstacle position, she gets the 10 of Wands. Hard work. This is going to be a sweat. Yeah, it's going to be a sweat and a graft to get over the line. However, in the middle of the deck, she gets the Empress. Oh, Kamala gets the Empress, the card of abundance, fecundity, wealth, prosperity. Yeah, this is also a pregnant card. I'm not saying she's going to be having a baby, but she's been speaking about what? Helping young families. This is also talking about what? Women's rights. Roe versus Wade. The Empress deals with pregnancy. Quite literally. So this is showing that this issue is probably going to be the one, it's been said before, but it really is contributing to her win, assuming she wins. Yeah, there she is, the Empress. But if we look here, though, we got the Two of Pentacles. There is an element here of juggling budgets, etc. She is going to have to juggle budgets if she becomes president and stuff. But I think this is talking about the energy of the election itself. So again, you've got the choppy waters in the background. So there are indications here for a choppiness here. But look at her outcome card. She gets the Hierophant, which is one of the examples of the divine masculine, and in this case we can see this as the positive. Now let's not forget, yeah, she was what, she used to prosecute, you know, give judgment, stuff like that. This is about tradition. This is about the established order. So what this says to me is, if Kamala becomes president, which is looking more like she is when I look at the astrology and I look at the cards, and this last minute turn towards her, please, Lord, let it be. Planets, grahas, everyone, Rahu, do it. Please do it for Kamala. But look, this is the outcome card that she gets. And her cards are better than Dr. Ronch. So this shows her becoming what? The authority. Her and Tim ticket together, re-establishing a sense of law and order. So positive there, wasn't it? You know, as you know, no favoritism here. I say what I see. I read the cards as they are, and you can see her cards are better. So I hope I'm correct, but I don't think I can be any more thorough than that. I certainly hope Kamala and Tim win, because if they don't, it doesn't even bear worth thinking about. But no complacency, guys. Get out there and vote. Trump does have a very powerful chart, but JD Vance is a bit of his Achilles heel. Yeah, and I think this is why we've not been seeing so much. But anyway, we'll know on the other side of the election. I will leave it there for now. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please don't forget as well to like and subscribe and share. Hour and a half, but you know, covered a lot of ground. It is now 23:28 UK time, so I'm hoping that I can get this video up by 1 a.m. Anyway, I will leave it there, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's see what happens. God bless, you know, America, and let's hope that there is no violence and not too much interfering and skullduggery and all of the mad, crazy, you know what, that could potentially happen. And let's hope there's some sense of normality and order that becomes restored. But to look again, Kamala got the better cards. and her combined ticket is stronger than the Trump Vance ticket. So let's hope that the planets oblige. Let's not also forget as well that Trump has got Venus in the 12th house, and the 12th house can deal with losses, and it can mean losses via women. Yeah, we know about the financial losses, so we'll have to see. Let's see how the wheel turns, but fingers crossed that might be just enough to get the ticket over the line. Anyway, big love, and I will see you guys. I'll see you guys soon. All right, bye-bye for now.